Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3 with a Gunpla review of the 1 to 1/44th scale high-grade Miss Sazabi, the Aila Custom mobile suit that appeared in the final stages of Gundam Build Fighters. Miss Sazabi comes in a rather large high-grade box, though inside there are only 9 pieces. More surprisingly, only 6 runners make up the majority of this model kit. The frames break down into 2 slate, 1 white, 1 light blue, 1 yellow, and 1 multicolored plate. Then there's a black stand, a large set of polycaps, and a minimal sticker sheet. The build is not unlike your average high grade, but due to the large parts, the experience is much easier and comes together shockingly quick. The kit also has minimal lining opportunities. It's a beginner level build through and through. On the other hand, once fully assembled, Miss Sazabi gives off an appearance that's more refined and complicated than it actually is. Add to that, it's daunting in size. At 7.5 inches tall to the top of the head fin, this kit easily dwarfs anything else in the HG Build Fighters line. Of course, it's a fairly good looking kit too. The colors are spot on, the mandatory stickers work well, and there's barely any obvious seam lines to be covered. Sections needed to be painted are limited to a couple yellow vents and black thrusters. Paint could also be used to bring out the edges, but I don't think they're necessary with the softer theme of this MS. Now, I do have one standout issue with Miss Sazabi's aesthetics, and that's the proportions. They're just not as close to the anime model as I would have liked. The hip skirts need to be decreased in size, the shoulder pads could be more angular, and the knee pads and arm guards could be further pronounced. This was always going to be Bandai's biggest hurdle to overcome with Miss Sazabi, as they were trying to take a very aggressive suit to begin with and convert it into something more feminine. Unfortunately, for all of Bandai's efforts, I don't think it quite worked out perfectly. Although, that complaint aside, it's a good looking kit. For articulation, Miss Sazabi has a ball-jointed head which has some pretty decent range in every direction, and then of course there's a hinge at the bottom to allow it go upwards a little bit so that you can get some good flight poses. For the torso, there's actually one ball joint that connects the waist to the actual upper body, and this piece here is actually just floating in the middle, and because of that, all you can really do is swivel the waist side to side. You can sort of get some tilting action, but nothing dramatic. The shoulders actually have a built-in swing-out hinge, which is pretty nice. Then, of course, the shoulders themselves are on a hinge that comes outwards. There's a bicep swivel, and they can go forwards. And the shoulder pad is on an independent hinge. There is a single-jointed elbow, which gets you about 90 degrees of motion, and a ball-jointed wrist. Front skirts are on a ball joint, as are the side skirts. The hips themselves are on a ball joint, which means they can go forward about that much, and outwards about 45 degrees because of the way this is cut up here. There is no thigh swivel. You do have double jointed knees. This leg booster is just connected on a simple swivel. And for the ankles, there's 2 ankle armors. This white piece goes up and down, as does this little section here. The foot is on a hinged ball joint, and there is a posable booster on the back. The backpack itself is quite interesting. Each of these big boosters are on universal joints, so they go up and down, side to side. And then the middle section can actually pop out downwards on its own. And this little booster here is on a little ball joint, which you can't really move. Then for the back hip skirts here, these are actually on these weird sort of hinged stem ball joints. So they have a couple weird different motions you can put them in. Nothing too crazy, but the mechanism is pretty interesting. While Miss Sazabi contains a multitude of moving parts, only a few of them contain enough range of motion for dynamic poses. However, the posability allows for great instances of intimidation. There's not much in terms of accessories here. Along with the default fists, you get a single left open palm for display poses. For weapons, first up is the sweet sword. It pegs into either fist, and apart from its awesome yellow effect parts, it's fairly straightforward. Next is the sweet shield. This either plugs into the top of the arm guard, or you can use the included attachment to have it equipped on the side of the arm, whichever preference you prefer. As a nice feature, the middle block piece attaches to form a double-ended beam saber hilt, and you get 2 fierce yellow effect parts for it. Alternatively, the effect parts can be directly plugged into the foot guards for a varied melee option. Finally, there's a black display base. It comes with 2 different angled arms and a height adjustment block. Nothing too extraordinary here. Conceptually, I found Miss Sazabi to be the most intriguing Gundam Build Fighters entry simply because of how far it deviated from its source mobile suit design, and this high grade is a great representation of that idea. It's not the ideal anime replica I was personally hoping for, yet with its simple build and high grade status, I do feel like this was the maximum that Bandai could have achieved with Miss Sazabi. Now, putting looks aside, I will admit that this kit is almost entirely defined by its size, and to me, that's the real disappointment. It may be almost twice the size of a standard HG, but it costs almost twice the price. Functionally speaking, in both articulation and feature set, it's rather basic and there isn't much else that stands out. At the end of the day, whereas most modern high-grade Gundams display a stunning amount of ingenuity, the HG Miss Sazabi comes off more as a big, dumb, fun toy. And that isn't a criticism, that's just what it is. But that's all for me, and thanks for watching. You know, I really enjoy feminine-themed mobile suits, and I hope it's something we see more often in future series.